Good afternoon. It's Heather Doyle Fraser, and I'm here today for our afternoon pick-me-up. That's a little tongue twister today for some reason. I'm going to start today with a little reading from my book, 40 Weeks, A Daily Journey of Inspiration and Abundance. And when I opened this book up just a second ago, I opened up to week 21, day 2, which is a time of releasing. If you know my book, it's separated into 4 sections: a time of opening, a time of allowing, a time of releasing, and a time of embracing. And so this is week 21, day 2, a time of releasing, and week 21, day 3. So a week 21, day 2. Your future is here. Now is your time. Act, love, live. You are ready for the next step. Then week 21, day 3. Nature is a great teacher. The change of seasons, the cycles of growth, hibernation, death, and rebirth remind us that change is all around us in every moment. What happens when you lean into the change rather than resist? What if you accepted change as a natural part of your existence and allowed yourself to bend and shift as needed? I like these a whole lot for today, and I'm really grateful to my past self writing these for a couple reasons. One, I feel like these are really apt for right now. 2, it is really comforting to know that I wrote this in 2014, 2015. And it applied then, it applies now. We're experiencing some really big change right now, but change is happening all the time. And that is comforting to me to know that even when it feels like everything is upside down, everything is impermanent. There's always change happening. And if we can bend and shift as needed, maybe it will be a little less daunting. It's not going to be not daunting, but maybe it'll be a little less daunting if we can be have a little more psychological flexibility and really look around us. The first line of this second reading, nature is a great teacher. Nature is my ultimate teacher. I feel like every time I go outside, I feel better, and I feel like I gain something other than just being outside, but some knowing, some wisdom, some reflection, so many different things. So I'm taking that with me today because I really like it. And right now we're in the middle of spring here in Ohio, so changes every day. Today is a beautiful day. It's sunny, and it started out with thunderstorms, and then it changed to this gorgeous sunny day that's 75 degrees, which is crazy. And tomorrow I think it's going to be 45 and rainy. So bending and shifting with that and allowing for it, I think is going to be the way to go. On that note, I thought I would also, as I have been doing, read from this book that I wrote with my husband, Chris. It's called Freedom. And this is chapter 7, Motivating with Kindness. You can see how pretty that is. Because I feel like that reading that we just had really also speaks to having some self-compassion, giving yourself some grace and kindness around everything that's happening, and really amidst the change, amidst all of this that's happening, all of the turmoil, giving yourself some grace and kindness to have that psychological flexibility. So I'm going to read a little bit from this right now. Motivating with kindness. You have to learn to get up from the table when love is no longer being served. Nina Simone. That's a quote from Nina Simone. Why is love more motivator than shame? We swim in a culture that sends us the message that we need to be hard on ourselves and others if we want to reach our goals. All of us often hyper focus on negatives. We talked a little bit about that the other day with how, from an evolutionary perspective, we're wired to do that. But we often point out the negatives, the mistakes, all of these things in the good intention of offering maybe some constructive criticism. But while these are really good intentions, sometimes our approach is out of balance, and our critical voice can easily, that critical voice that comes out can easily go in and become our inner critical voice when we make mistakes and struggle. These points are backed up by the research of Dr. Kristen Neff. Dr. Neff has found in her research that the biggest reason people aren't more self-compassionate is that they are afraid. They have a real fear they will become lazy and self-indulgent. They believe self-criticism is the answer because our culture says being hard on ourselves is the only way we can achieve our goals or find success in life. As we spoke about earlier, this tricky brain of ours has a default mode of searching for the negative and then beating ourselves out over the head with it in an attempt to try to keep us safe, correct our mistakes, and motivate us to improve. This is what we have been taught works and what our brain has evolved to do. Just imagine that our prehistoric ancestor survives an attack of a dangerous animal, and then afterwards that person plays the event over and over again in their mind to see if there is something they can learn. This review of the negative was important and served a purpose to help our prehistoric ancestor to be prepared for a future lethal attack. And you know what? In the present day, this self-critical review may work in the short term, but it doesn't work in the long term. Over time, this inner critic begins to shame us with shoulds and should nots. We become beaten down by our own inner critical voice, have difficulty trying new things, or even doing the things we love. With inner shaming, we are unable to truly grow and flourish. Let's look at something a little outside of ourselves. For example, sculpting. It's probably not the first thing that jumps to your mind, but stick with us. Some sculptors work with marble and some work with clay. They're both trying to create something new and beautiful. If you're the type of sculptor who works with a block of marble or stone, you must use a chisel and a hammer. You must whack at this big block, taking away large chunks and smaller chunks to achieve your goal. You may eventually be able to achieve the likeness or shape you imagine, but those cuts and whacks will always be a bit visible, even if only in a small way. It also may be a painful prospect for the sculptor, hitting the rock over and over, feeling the reverberation throughout the body. Now let's look at a sculptor who works with clay. This artist isn't trying to force anything into submission by taking away and cutting away large and small pieces. This sculptor starts with a small lump and builds it up. This sculptor gently molds the clay and works it with her fingers and hands, adding more clay and shaping it to create the beauty she is seeking in the form she is trying to create. If we bring this example back to us, think about how you would feel if someone was hitting you and trying to take pieces of you away to achieve a specific goal. This would feel terrible, harsh, and painful. And this would also activate our threat system. Instead of lifting us up, it beats us down. On the other hand, if someone is lovingly and gently acknowledging what is already beautiful in us, creating a solid foundation and providing support, and then adding to that, we would feel warmly encouraged. You can mindfully choose the way of the clay sculptor for yourself. So what I want to point out about that is that when we are experiencing all of this change and all of these difficult things, if we can offer that kind and gentle compassion to ourselves, if we can be that compassionate self and offer the grace, and of course we're struggling, of course this is difficult, we've never had anything like this happen, then maybe we can find a little space, even a small space of tenderness and that feels a whole lot better than the inner critic looping in your head over and over. So during this time when it feels like I've got to get all these things done, or I have to do this and I have to do that, if you feel like doing that and that makes you feel good, do that. But if it is an added stress, then do what is feeling good right now at the moment. Maybe it's getting out for an extra walk. Maybe it's doing some more meditating. All of those daily rituals we've been talking about to build that net and that foundation for ourselves, those are wonderful things to do. And even some extra sleep or something like that. Really tuning in to what would support me in the highest and best way right now. What is that gentle kindness I can offer to myself and to my heart? So that's what I'm going to do today. I've already been for a walk, but I might go out again because, like I said, I think it's going to be yucky tomorrow, and I want to soak all this in, and or maybe just sit out in my backyard for a few minutes. But I hope that you have a moment of some peaceful comfort, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.